All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. So, in my opinion, all right, the college football playoff is merely a microcosm of college football overall, as things are always changing and you never know what to expect. And yes, this is the second year of the 12-team playoff. And as we saw changes after last year's playoff, expect some more to be coming down the pike, in my opinion. The reason for that, the reason why I'm saying this is that so far in this tournament, the teams who have received the first round bye are struggling to advance. So far, they're 1-7. Okay. Last year, part of the excuse was that the first round buys should not go to the top four highest ranked conference champions. Well, guess what? That aspect of the format was changed, but the buys are still a detriment more than they are a reward. In this field, we saw Ohio State lose to Miami in the Cotton Bowl. Texas Tech was shut out in the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day, courtesy of Oregon. And then there was Georgia, who lost in the Sugar Bowl for the second consecutive year after getting the first round bye. So Indiana is the only team that we have seen so far that got the first round bye and was able to advance. And of course, we saw the Hoosiers steamroll Alabama on New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl. But of course, a lot of questions. First things first, the long layoff from conference championship weekend, because we're talking about nearly a month, okay, between conference championship weekend and the quarterfinals of the CFP. Of course, the teams who did not get the first round bye, they're right at it the follow like within a week or so, give or take, after conference championship week. So, with all of that said, how should the committee look to combat this issue? Because it truly is an issue, in my opinion. And I look at it like this: if they, because you're hearing about some people saying, well, the top teams should have on-campus games, and I think they should. I think with what we're seeing right now and what we've seen transpire so far in the quarterfinals, both last year and this year, I think this just opens the door even more than is already open for them to go out there and expand the playoff. And with that said, my question is, how long before we are going to see a 16 team college football playoff tournament? If that were the case, the possibility of 8 on campus games in the first round, with the rest being held at neutral sites. I guarantee you there'll be plenty of money on the table for it. Make no mistake about it. I mean, there's already a ton of money that's coming down the pike for this 12-team college football playoff. And you look at it, and from my standpoint, I mean, the college football playoff is, they're in a very interesting position because they want to be like the NFL playoffs and they want to be like the NCAA tournament while also attempting to hold on to some of the college football tradition of the bowl games. Okay. At some point, something's got to give. Like I said, you could do uh, 8 on campus site games maybe to give the top teams, that opportunity to have the first round bye and keep their rhythm, or not have the first round bye and keep their rhythm. My other thing is this: you look at it and you think about the NCAA tournament. The conference champions, yeah, they get the top seeds to the NCAA's, but guess what? The NCAA tournament starts the very next weekend. Okay, conference championship weekend in college basketball for the bigger conferences, at least, is usually over Saturday, if not Sunday, and then by Thursday, the balls are rolled out for the bulk of the field. Of course, there are the play-in games for the NCAA tournament. And then you look at the NFL playoffs. Okay, we are in the midst of the final weekend of the regular season in the National Football League. Yes, the two top teams do get a first round bye in both respective conferences, but the postseason begins next week. Okay, and that first round bye is only a week long. So I think if you want to combat it, like I said, um, having opening it up to 16 teams possibly, does that. Or if you want to keep it at 12, which I doubt that they want to, maybe, just maybe, you treat it like the NCAA tournament. You treat it like the NFL playoffs and say, hey, you know what? That following weekend, we're rolling out these games for the first round, and then the following weekend, kind of like with what Dan Lanning was saying before, and others, that hey, the following weekend, you know what, you keep going coming down the pike with more games, and maybe you just have it for the semis and the championship game at neutral sites for bowl games. Maybe you could do it like that as well. But the bottom line is something's got to give, and I think something will give. Okay, because it's one of those just in the same narrative where you don't want to exclude a team from maybe the Big Ten or the SEC who got to the conference championship game and they lost from not getting into the field of the college football playoff, because then teams aren't going to want to play in their conference championship game. Well, guess what? Now it's almost looking like a detriment that you win your conference championship game and get the coveted first round bye for the most part, especially if it's going to be the Big Ten or the SEC. We know that. Make no mistake about it. They're barring something unforeseen, they're always going to get a first round bye. Okay, but when it's all said and done, I think something's going to give. Okay, because you look at Ohio State, and this is no disrespect to Miami, but the Buckeyes did come out a little flat in that game. Okay, and Miami made them pay for it because the Hurricanes were ready to play from the moment they took the field. You look at the Rose Bowl, and like I said, Alabama got steamrolled in that game. And even if Indiana had another month off, I think they still would have beat Alabama. I think they are a little bit different as far as this goes. Ole Miss and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, the Bulldogs came ready to play. But I think in that game, what did them in? The familiarity with their opponent. Ole Miss was playing with plenty of momentum because they want to go out there and prove their naysayers wrong after Lane Kiffin skipped out on them. And then there's the Orange Bowl. Texas Tech's defense kept them in the game, yes, but their offense looked flat as hell. Okay, and I mean Oregon's defense definitely had a part in that, but Texas Tech was just flat as hell on offense. So I look at it like this: I think more changes are coming. I think this college football playoff is going to be consistently changing because there's always going to be somebody complaining about something. There's always going to be somebody who wants to alter something. And I think this conversation right now is not going away because guess what? Clearly the first round buys are not working. Last year, like I said, it was all about giving the first round bye to the top four ranked conference champions. And of course, you could make the case that some of those conference champions didn't deserve to get the first round bye over other teams. And also, with what we're seeing with this tournament so far, the expanded 12-team tournament, is that sometimes you could have a team that they take that opportunity of that first round game to kind of get the kinks out and get their mojo back. We saw that last year with Ohio State when they dominated Tennessee at home in round number one, and they rode that wave of momentum to a national championship. Uh, you look at Miami, okay, and how they got the win on the road against Texas A&M. You look at Oregon's offense, but then you look at the questions about their defense after they gave up 34 points to James Madison, and they went out there in that Orange Bowl and they wanted to prove some people wrong. So when it's all said and done, I do think there's going to be changes coming to this format. Will this whole first round bye thing change? I think so. Maybe not this year, but I think it's going to change because I think the CFP is going to expand. It's not a matter of if, it's more like when. But nonetheless, so far, it's not paying off to have the first round bye. The teams with the first round buys are 1-7. All three of those teams this year were conference champions, and of course, the only one that is still alive is Indiana, an Indiana team that some people feel has what it takes to go all the way. But nonetheless, with the teams with the first round buys struggling, I guarantee you that there are going to be some changes coming to this format. It's not a matter of if, it's more like when. And like I said before, in my opinion, this opens a door for more expansion talk for the college football playoff. This is the never ending story, folks. Buckle up because I truly do think more changes are coming to the CFP. But, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, that'd be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.